When royal journalism became a personal war against Meghan and Harry, British royal coverage crossed a line some time ago. Reporting gave way to campaigning. Much of the British media now approaches Meghan Sussex and Prince Harry with open hostility. A smaller, louder group goes further. These figures cast themselves as the couple's personal adversaries, often on the basis of an imagined slight. The real offence appears simpler. The Sussexes refuse to accept the narratives written about them. Some of the same commentators also admit they never met Meghan. They still write with the certainty of insiders. The intensity of the coverage directed at Meghan and Harry by certain British commentators is striking in its personal nature. These writers do not merely report on the royal couple, but rather cast themselves as their adversaries, often based on perceived slights or imagined grievances. Figures like Camilla Tominey and Piers Morgan have gone beyond objective journalism, instead framing their reporting as a crusade against the Sussexes' supposed dishonesty and manipulation. What's particularly telling is the contrast with how other royals are treated. There are no columnists waxing nostalgic about meeting the perfect Kate Middleton or hinting at personal closeness with the Middleton family. The press maintains a respectful distance and clear boundaries when it comes to reporting on the rest of the Windsor clan. But with Meghan, the gloves come off, and the coverage becomes overtly vicious and vindictive. This is not an even-handed examination of power dynamics, but rather a response to disruption. The Sussexes challenged long-standing arrangements between the monarchy and the media, and in turn the press rewrote the rules, personalising their criticism and intensifying their attacks. This distortion did not begin with Meghan and Harry. It was merely revealed through them as the press abandoned journalistic credibility in favour of proximity and volume. The personal war against Meghan and Harry. The shift in royal reporting has been marked by a troubling trend. What was once objective journalism has given way to open hostility and personal grievances against Meghan and Harry. Certain British media figures have cast themselves as the couple's adversaries, often based on imagined slights or a failure to accept the narratives written about them. This matters greatly as the press shapes public perception of power, race, and credibility. When commentary starts to resemble prosecution, precision becomes essential. Commentators like Camilla Tominey and Piers Morgan have worked to undermine Meghan's account and credibility while centering their own grievances. Others, like Jan Moyer and Caroline Graham, have resorted to ridicule and class-based mockery to discredit her. What links these figures is not just ideology, but a pattern of behaviour. Meghan becomes the primary target, and the tone turns openly vicious. This intensity is not applied evenly across the royal family. It remains concentrated on Meghan and, by extension, the couple's refusal to submit to hostile narratives. The result is a media narrative shaped less by evidence than by repetition, personal grievance, and resistance to a story that challenged long-standing power structures. The narrative shaping. How the British press turned against Meghan and Harry. Camilla Tominey of The Telegraph shaped the narrative early. She rejected the idea that race influenced Meghan's treatment and framed criticism of the British press as exaggerated. She also reported the claim that Meghan made Kate cry during a bridesmaid dress fitting, a version later challenged by Meghan. In a separate column on Meghan's guest editorship of British Vogue, Tominey went further, suggesting the project amounted to reverse racism. Together, these interventions helped establish a climate of scepticism in which Meghan's account was treated as suspect rather than examined on its merits. Piers Morgan pushed that scepticism further. He had previously acknowledged the monarchy's troubled record on race. After Meghan spoke publicly about her experience, he reversed course, dismissing her account, including her disclosure of suicidal thoughts, and presenting himself as a casualty of her influence following his departure from Good Morning Britain. His coverage increasingly framed the Sussexes as dishonest and manipulative, while centering his own grievance. Other commentators contributed differently. Jan Moir used ridicule and class-based mockery to undermine Meghan's credibility. Caroline Graham became personally involved in a family medical crisis, publishing intimate details and presenting proximity as proof of authority. Piers Morgan then took that scepticism further, dismissing Meghan's disclosures, including about her suicidal thoughts, and presenting himself as a casualty of her supposed influence. Other commentators like Jan Moir used ridicule and class-based mockery to undermine Meghan's credibility, while Caroline Graham went so far as to publish intimate family details, claiming proximity as proof of authority. What links these figures is not just their ideology, but their behaviour. Meghan becomes the primary target, and the tone turns openly vicious. This intensity is not applied evenly across the royal family, but remains concentrated on Meghan and the couple's refusal to submit to the hostile narratives. The result is a media landscape shaped more by repetition, personal grievance, and resistance to a story that challenged long-standing power structures rather than by evidence. The selective coverage, Meghan and Harry's extensive public work through the Archewell Foundation has often been minimised or ignored in British media coverage. While other royals' charitable efforts are praised, the Sussexes' record of tangible impact is frequently overlooked or dismissed as merely performative. This selective treatment narrows public understanding and fails to challenge the racially charged attacks that Meghan has endured. The Archewell Foundation has tackled pressing global issues such as food insecurity, child safety, mental health and disaster relief, delivering meaningful aid and support to vulnerable communities. Yet, British commentators have chosen to frame this work through a lens of political activism, in contrast with the more traditional duty narrative applied to other royals. This double standard reveals the media's resistance to a story that challenges long-standing power structures and the cosy relationship between the monarchy and the press. The imagined relationship columnists writing about Meghan Sussex often adopt a tone of familiarity and intimacy, as though they share a personal bond with the Duchess. This is a stark contrast to the more distant and respectful way they cover other members of the royal family. The distortion in their commentary appears to be a response to the disruption the Sussexes have brought to long-standing arrangements between the monarchy and the press. Rather than examine Meghan's experiences and accounts objectively, these writers seem intent on positioning themselves as her personal adversaries, often based on imagined slights or unmet expectations. This selective treatment narrows public understanding and allows harmful narratives to take hold, even as the Sussexes' substantive charitable work is frequently minimised or ignored. The credibility of reporting. The record of distortion predating Meghan and Harry is clear. Certain UK journalists have approached reporting on the Sussexes with a level of hostility and personal grievance that undermines the credibility of their work. Rather than examining Meghan's account on its merits, commentators like Camilla Tominey and Piers Morgan have sought to discredit her, casting doubt on her experiences and presenting themselves as victims of her influence. This pattern of behaviour is not applied evenly across the royal family, revealing a selective outrage that is more about resisting a narrative that challenges long-standing power structures than it is about objective journalism. The press has effectively rewritten the rules, personalising criticism and intensifying attacks on Meghan in particular. Credibility, not proximity or volume, should be the foundation of quality reporting. But in this case, the record shows a concerning departure from those principles.